Everybody out there in internet land, welcome back to the weekend. Are you ready to have some fun? My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. Welcome, as always, to Front Porch Brunch, that live stream on Saturday mornings that is dedicated to you, the hardworking folks out there in America who maybe are just haven't had the time to catch up with what's going on in the world, and you're trying to figure out, are there really things I ought to be paying attention to? Yes, there are, and we're here to help you figure out what those are. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I'm your Front Porch Conservative. This is Front Porch Brunch. Oh, man, what a week we have had, or I have had. I know you've had it too, but different reasons for that. We're kind of waiting for everybody to work their way into the room. Oh, my gosh, what a week I have had personally. It has been absolutely wild. There's just no getting around it for me. Just amazing. So I'm glad to see all y'all. Like I said, we're sort of waiting for everybody to kind of work their way into the room right now. As we do that, I'll just get everything started. Wild week for me. And it's unusual, but not unusual. In that I did my normal interviews this week. Well, I did my videos this week, and I had an interview on Thursday with the Peoples Pundit, Baris, which, if you're not familiar with him, and please, hello, the official bartender of the Front Porch has shown up. Good morning, my lovely lady. Mwah. Glad to see you, my darling. Oh, it's so good to see you, Lee. Oh, hope you were able to join me Thursday night for that interview with Rich. I was just telling everybody about it. For those of you who may not have had a chance to see it, it's posted on my channel. I got a chance to sit down and interview Rich Baris, the People's Pundit, who is one of the best, if not the best, pollster in America over the past 10 years. An absolutely amazing man with an amazing backstory. Good morning, Mr. Lowry. A cup of tea is lifted in your direction, good sir. Yeah, and you know, I've got to say it. It's kind of, you know that old adage, it's amazing what you do when you try. I will give you a little bit of the backstory of how that interview came about. Oh, that's all right, Leah. You just, honey, you do what you got to do. We're here. We know you're here, and we love you for it. So you be safe. That's cool. But when you get to when you get to where you're going, make sure you pour the Bloody Mary. So yeah, you do what you got to do. Anyway, the story of how that interview came about. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest about it. My live stream and my channel are relatively new in the social media scene. And I've always operated under the assumption the worst thing that can happen is someone says no. And what I mean is this. It doesn't matter really what you're asking for, whether you're asking for someone to go on a date with you, if you're asking someone to come on a live stream, or anything in between. You have nothing to lose, because the worst thing that happens is someone says no. So I sent out a series of emails to some other folks I'd like to bring on, which I won't mention any names. But I did reach out to Rich's wife, Laura, who handles all of his booking. And I told him who I was, and I said, you know, I would love to have the opportunity to sit down and talk with Rich. So about 10 days ago, maybe a little longer, I got an email back from Laura. And Mrs. Baris said, sure, Rich would love to come on your live stream. You know, we don't have availability for this date, but what about the 17th? So after I pulled myself off the ceiling from the excitement, it's like I very calmly and professionally replied, why, yes, I'll be happy to book Rich. I think I have availability on that day. So, you know, if ever you're wondering in your life, should I really try and do this? Look, what's the worst thing that can happen? Someone says no. Well, okay, maybe that's a no, meaning no, not now, but somewhere later on. It could be a hard no, but who knows? You know. And for my part, and I would give him this compliment if he were here, Rich is fabulous to interview. He is a wonderful conversationalist, and we had a limited amount of time, which I get it. I mean, I saw his tweets throughout the day, and I mean, he was doing interviews all over the place, talking to people. And the fact that they, you know, that we were able to do about 45 minutes, or maybe just a touch longer than that, you know, I was exceedingly grateful for. Rich is very busy. He's very in demand. And when he's not in demand, he's doing a lot of polling work, which requires time and effort, energies and attentions. And the fact that, you know, I got the chance to interview him for about the time that I did, I'm extremely grateful for. And there's the extreme possibility that he's going to be coming back again. You know, as you might expect, I sent a thank you note to Laura, and she said, "Yeah, we'd love to come back on the show sometime." So keep your eyes open, folks. It might be happening somewhere down the road. So maybe sometime later in the fall, we'll have him back on the show. So, well, if you're out there this morning, I know Leah's checked in. I know Robert's checked in. Please feel free to leave some comments in chat. We'd love to be able to talk to you. For all you lurkers out there, and I know you're there. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. I get it. Some people tend to want to remain anonymous. That's perfectly fine. We're live streaming right now on YouTube. We're live streaming on Rumble. We're live streaming on Twitter. So lots of people out there. Hopefully you're going to stop in and say hello. Would love to hear from you. So like I say, please leave a comment and chat. And if you've got the opportunity to do it, and if you want to, doesn't matter if you're on Twitter, if you're on Truth Social, if you're on Getter, whatever platform you're on, blast the link out to this live stream. I'd love to get as many people in here as we possibly could. We had a fantastic audience on Thursday night, and I think a lot of that was owing to, Rich Baris's popularity, which I'm not going to discount that or, dismiss that at all. I'm happy for as many people want to show up, but, love to see this live stream grow as far as the number of people here. The people who are here, glad to have you, but, I want to bring as many people to this as we possibly can because I think this is a good time. I think the weekend is a great time to talk about the news because you finally have a chance to decompress. Okay? Let's be honest about it. Everybody is out there, busting their butts trying to make a living. They're trying to take care of their families and take care of their job and pay the bills and do everything that they got to do in life. And you don't necessarily always have a chance to catch up on the news. And I think this live stream serves a valuable function in that regard because finally, when you get to Saturday morning and you've hopefully have slept in, if you can, assuming the kids leave you alone long enough to do that and all that happy stuff, you finally have the chance to decompress from your week and go, what's been going on in the world? Oh my word. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I have to stop for just a moment to say hello to this. Y'all don't know her yet, okay? But I have to stop and say hello to this lovely lady. Meredith is an old friend of mine from college, and that was, for both of us was just 3 or 4 years ago because we're so blessedly young. And she is, let me tell you something. She may not be on social media, like what I'm doing right now, but she does have a social media presence. I'm not going to go so far as to like out where you can find her, but probably one of the dearest, sweetest people you will ever get to know, and just genuinely a good person. And in her own way is a glorious conversationalist. So Meredith, good morning, my love. I am so glad to see you. And by the way, that invitation stands anytime you want to come to Peacefield. You're welcome here. We may not be the fanciest house on the block, but when you come here, you'll find good food, good friends, lively conversation, and maybe some adult beverages. Just saying. So yeah, I had to say hello to her. Wonderful, wonderful lady. So welcome, Meredith. Glad you joined us this morning. And I know what hour it is out where you live, so whoo, you are definitely up early. God love you. So a cup of tea lifted to you. So yes, we are pleasant. As always, life is a pleasant surprise. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what's inside. So now I've been visited by an old college friend on the show, so that's great. Right. Oh, booze. Yeah. Booze and cigars. I'm just saying. So, when you want to escape the People's Republic out there, and you know where you are. So we'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to dox you, darling. So yeah, you're welcome here anytime you want. All right, let's get into it. Lots of things going on this week. Some of them I've touched on in some videos, some of them I haven't. Some things I think really ought to be touched on, or more than I was able to do in my video. I'm starting to discover, I think I'm going to start setting a rule for myself. And that is if a video goes over 20 minutes in length, okay, you just need to do a live stream about this topic, So I got to figure out how to start applying that rule for what I do here. But one of the stories that I touched on this week, which everybody I think by now is very well aware of, but I think it bears repeating, and that's this young man, Oliver Anthony, and his song Rich Men North of Richmond. This song is absolutely exploding all over the charts. And I want to show you one thing and see if I can enlarge this to make it easier for everybody to read. There it goes. Yeah, that's better. This video was posted 10 days ago on a YouTube page called Radio West Virginia, Radio WV. In 10 days, this video has gotten 23 million views. To tell you how popular this song is, let's go to the iTunes chart. For top 40 U.S. country songs, Rich Men North of Richmond is number one. And better than that, two other of his songs that he released earlier, Ain't Got a Dollar and I've Got to Get Sober, are now in the top 3. Now, that's the country chart on iTunes. Now, here's the kicker. Take a look at this. This is all songs on the iTunes chart. For the past, 8 days, Rich Men North of Richmond is the number one song on the iTunes chart, and it is just flying. Now, the funny thing about it is the criticisms that have been coming about this song are mostly on the grounds, oh, it's right wing. He's a right winger. The conservatives just love this song. No. We'll get to my answer to those criticisms here in just a moment. But this is more than just some kind of a right winger's lament. As a matter of fact, by his own admission, and let me pull this up real quick. This is from Billboard.com. It was an article entitled 5 Things to Know About, Oliver Anthony's song, Rich Men North of Richmond. Number 4, he says he's dead center politically. In a video, Anthony discussed his now viral song. It touches bases on human trafficking and atrocities. And I'll say this. I sit pretty dead center down the aisle on politics, and I always have. I remember as a kid the conservatives wanting war and me not understanding that, and I remember a lot of controversies. When the left took office, it seems like both sides serve the same master, and that master is not someone of any good to the people of this country. So, if anybody thinks this guy is some kind of like raging right-wing conservative of the Rush Limbaugh, out of the Rush Limbaugh mold, that's not the case. And, oh my God, this woman. I just arrived, and the first words I hear from Brian are, I've got to get sober. Cool. You brat. You Australian brat. Oh, by the way, I should do some introductions. Millicent, there's another lady in chat going by the name of Margot Dieu. Margot is an old friend of mine, so say hello to each other, ladies. A woman from my past and a woman in my present. But getting back to the discussion about this song, Oliver Anthony is no, flaming right winger. This guy's like straight down the middle. He's just trying to make a commentary about where we are socially. Now, I want to play you a clip. And this comes from one of the people, believe it or not, at Fox News that I actually not just tolerate, I actually like what they got to say. And not because of how they say it, it's because they speak with a lot of common sense. What I'm going to play you is a clip from the Fives, and it's Megan McDowell who's speaking. And this runs about a minute and a half, so I want to set this up for you, but I think it's worth listening to the whole thing. I want you to listen to her commentary about this song and why she thinks it resonates the way it does. So let me get this pulled up. Listen to this.
So he lives right down the road from my daddy, where I was born and raised. And so this touches me probably.
Hang on. I know how to work my way around this. There we
in a
go.
way that it doesn't other people. And what connects with folks, for me, it's not the lyrics, but it's the actual music. A man playing a resonator guitar, it can also be played like a slide or a dobro. And I was critical, like that Jason Aldean song, hated it. Not the lyrics, but the music, because it's manufactured corporate pop. And you can grab the necks of your Florida Georgia Line t-shirts and sweat all day and moan about what I just said. But when he says living in the new world with an old soul, the truth of those words are that music that he's playing is the music born on front porches and born in churches, up in the mountains and up in hollers. And it's not made by some big machine down in Nashville being shoved down people's throats. So go listen to Doc Watson, and go listen to Bill Monroe, and go listen to Ricky Skaggs, and you will know why this man is connecting with you. That's the
That is got to be one of the more interesting angles to this, because I hadn't really thought about it, but she's absolutely right. It's not just the lyrics or necessarily even the message, as much as it's the kind of music that it is. I mean, look, and I didn't necessarily intend this to swerve into a criticism of modern country music, but I mean, we're here, let's talk about it. I mean, for people who enjoy that genre of music, most of what's coming out of Nashville anymore leaves a lot to be desired. And I'm not going to lie, I'm one of those people. Okay. I appreciate, the idea of wanting to create a song that not only is fun to listen to, but is exciting for your audience, particularly if you go to a concert. I get that. But what Oliver Anthony is doing is very simple. It's just me and she calls it resonator guitar. I call it a dobro. But basically, he's just standing in front of a microphone and he's just singing. No fancy backup band, no $1 million slick production for a stage setting, no 17 tour buses or jet airplanes or whatever. This is just a man in the woods playing on a guitar, singing into a microphone, and by his own admission, he's recording it other than something on his phone. And the power in those lyrics is absolutely resonating across this country. And I said in my video, the criticisms would come. Well, I want to take you back to that article with that Fox News clip, because there's an article that comes along with it. And Millicent, you got a really good point here. I mean, it may not be your brand of music, but it's breaking the machine just to create and deliver something raw, if is relevant, regardless of preserved. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you totally on this. But I said the criticisms would come, and sure enough, I'm right. From an article at Fox News, writing for MSNBC, Paul Waldman said Anthony did not, quote, adequately call out the powerful, blasting him for instead going after the powerless. Anthony sings, well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, tax ought not to pay for your bag of fudge rounds. Working class people have a lot of problems in America today, but the use of taxes for safety net programs is not one of them. And nothing about the narrator's quality of life would improve if the U.S. began conditioning food stamp eligibility. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, he's really profoundly smart with his opinion. Washington Post Greg Sargent wrote the song had appeal with Republicans like Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene and Arizona Republican Kari Lake because it didn't directly target the right enemies. Quote, naturally, no one should expect serious policy analysis from a song. Nevertheless, its message is that the overworked and underpaid should blame their plight largely on high taxes, welfare cheats, and cultural elites monitoring their thoughts for any departure from woke orthodoxy. Well, that may be what he's saying, but Mr. Sargent, he's not wrong, but we'll get to that later. Business lobbyists and right-wing politicians have told versions of this distorted story for decades. It seeks to turn people against taxing the rich, social spending, and government regulations designed to protect the public and mitigate inequality. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I fully anticipated the criticisms would come, and sure enough, they are. And they're coming from the places that I would expect. The one place I did not expect them to come from was National Review. Yeah. The legendary William F. Buckley, his great publication, is taking a shot at Oliver Anthony. Take a look at this. Check this out. It's entitled Oliver Anthony's Fuzzy Lament. Last week, Oliver Anthony's song North of Richmond went supernova. In a world full of Nashville pop country sludge, Anthony sings with authentic passion, and many people were instantly taken with his raw and raspy voice. In just the time that you might have been on summer vacation, he came out of nowhere, going from a complete unknown to a musical celebrity as the song spread virally on YouTube and Twitter. That's a great American story, but I don't understand the adulation on the right for this song's message. And basically, the criticism that the writer of this has, and his name is Mark Antonio Wright, the criticism that he's got is, well, he's blaming, everything else for his own problems. Now, I will say this. There is something to be said for being responsible for your own actions and your own condition in life. I get that. I absolutely agree with that. In the end, it doesn't matter what else happens. I own me. I am responsible for my actions. I'm responsible for what happens in my life, good and bad. However, I don't think it is unfair or unrealistic to point out, hey, you're making it harder for me to be the me that I want to be. That's not unreasonable. And I think the author of this piece at National Review completely ignores that. It's elitism coming from the right. I expected an elitist response to Men North of Richmond coming from the left. I didn't expect it to come from National Review. Welfare truly needed. Yep, absolutely, my dear. Absolutely. And really, in one sense, that's all Oliver Anthony's pointing out is the abuse and the inconsistency. On the one hand, you've got people over here that are working as hard as they possibly can. The dollar doesn't buy as much for them as they once did. They're committing suicide in some cases. And on the other hand, you've got people, on welfare, and we're paying for the fudge rounds for 300-pound people. Now, you could sit here and argue whether Oliver Anthony's right or wrong. I get that. But to ignore the obvious is just absurd, which is what the left and the right are doing with this song. The cultural critics who are commenting on this song. I remember in my conversation the other night with Rich Baris, we were talking about this, and I made the observation that when you go through the YouTube page where that song is posted and you read the comments, there are thousands of them. I mean, just thousands of them, and most of them share a common theme. Things like, "You're speaking for me. You're speaking for millions of Americans. I'm working as hard as I can, and I cannot get ahead. I'm tired. I'm frustrated, and my government is completely ignoring me." I will make you a prediction right now. What Lee Greenwood's song "God Bless the USA" is to patriotism, this song is going to be to the voices of, and I use this word advisedly, intellectual revolution. Okay? This is going to be the rallying cry of millions on the left and the right. Okay? I will almost bet you, and Meredith, when you're having a conversation with your friends out where you live, I would love to get your feedback on this. Well, first of all, honey, you're welcome back here any Saturday morning you want to come on, but I'd love to get your feedback on this, particularly friends of yours who are liberals. And you and I have talked about, given where you are in the, what Genesis used to call the land of confusion. But I'd love to get the reaction to it, because I've got a very interesting feeling that, not only are there people who are moderate to conservative who are resonating with the lyrics of this song, I've got a funny feeling there are people on the left who are resonating with this song. Wouldn't surprise me if we're Bernie Sanders supporters. I'm serious. I'm serious about this. It would not surprise me at all to find out that there are people on the left, okay, the populist left, what I call the Bernie bros. It wouldn't surprise me at all to find out that they are supporting this song. Now, albeit for different reasons, but it wouldn't surprise me if the message in this song is touching them in such a positive way too. And Meredith, if you do happen to come back on here next Saturday morning, and darling, you're under no obligation, but obviously you've got the standing invitation. I'd love to hear what friends of yours out where you live are saying. Because, I mean, I know there's going to be people, right winger, but I'd be curious to know. I really would. Okay. Thank you, darling. And if it's not next week, fine. You just catch up with me whenever, but if you happen to be back on here, I'd love to hear a report from you about it. I really would. So yeah, the song is still resonating. It's getting the criticism that I figured was coming. And, it just, to me, this is going to be the anthem of intellectual revolution. This is going to be the rallying cry of a lot of people on the right and on the left. What Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA was and is to patriotic celebration, this song is going to be the voice of the disenfranchised, of people on the right and the left who feel like their government has left them behind and not given them the kind of priority that they should. So just keep your eyes on this. This is going to be fun to watch. Now, I'll point out one more article, and then we're going to switch topics. This comes from Crisis Magazine, and when I found this morning, I went, "Ooh, this guy gets it." It's written by the editor-in-chief. Let me see if I can find his name here real fast. Hang on. I think it's down clear at the bottom, unfortunately. Yeah, Eric Sammons, the editor-in-chief at Crisis Magazine. I'll read a couple of paragraphs from this, and then we'll all comment together. Why Men North of Richmond resonates. If you haven't heard the song, do so now. Parental note, it does contain a few curse words. It's a powerful piece musically, and Anthony sings with clear passion. But it's the lyrics that make the song the sensation that it is. And he goes through what they are and has his own discussion about it. But I want to get down to the last couple of paragraphs on this, because I think this sums it up beautifully. Here we go. Some have criticized this song for being hopeless, a depressing song that only laments our problems. But that's the point. People are feeling hopeless, and the way we are supposed to change things, our democratic political system is clearly so corrupt that there seems to be no way to fix things. All we can do is sing dirges of our fallen nation. The popularity of this song should be taken seriously. Why? Because frankly, it sounds like a prelude to revolution. History has shown that when a people are continually pushed down while their elites live lives of corrupt hedonism, pressure builds to dangerous levels. And sadly, the answer of many elites to the people's discontent is to just push down even more. Eventually, however, the pressure becomes so great that an explosion happens. When that occurs, rich men north of Richmond better watch out. Now, I'm going to say this. He's absolutely right. I hope, however, that the pressure that builds does not lead to what he thinks it could. I'm hoping that the pressure that builds leads to peaceful revolution through the ballot box. Okay? I mean, Tim Pool, I think his two favorite words are civil war, civil war, civil war every time he's talking. I've read the history books. I know how many died the last time the American people had a civil war. I know the damage it did. I've read all about it. You could argue we're still living the effects of it now 100 and however many plus years later. I don't want another one. If I do want a revolution, I want it at the ballot box. And that takes longer and it takes time. But I think Eric Sammons is absolutely spot on about this. That song is the American people saying, you know, we're trying, it's getting harder. We're trying to fix this through our ballot box. It doesn't seem like we can do it. So we need to sing about the problems we've got. And I think Megan McDowell is spot on too, in that it's a song, the music, the style of the music. I mean, I'm from Appalachia, okay? I mean, I'll dox myself. I'm from West Virginia. His style of singing, his style of playing, that style of music, that is what music I know. That is mountain people music, okay? It is not unusual to go anywhere in Kentucky, West Virginia, Virginia, the Carolinas, parts of Pennsylvania, parts of Ohio. And Rob, you know what I'm talking about. And hear that kind of music. That's mountain music. That's Appalachian music. So between the lyrics of that song and the music that backs it up, it is a powerful, powerful tome to where we are today. So just keep an eye on that one, because that song is gonna, I think it's gonna go a whole lot further and last a whole lot longer than people realize. I really do. Oh goodness, it's already 11 a.m. on the East Coast, which means it is 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. somewhere else. So my name is Brian Trippett. I'm your Front Porch Conservative. This is Front Porch Brunch. We are talking about the news, things that have happened this week. So let's shift gears a little bit. Oh, by the way, I'm being remiss as a grifter. I'm bad about this. I got to get to learn how to be a better grifter. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitter, we're on a number of different places that we can get on. I'd love to expand this thing out. I need to sit down and figure out how to get it on, put this on Getter and a few other places. We are obviously not monetized on YouTube. However, we are monetized on Rumble. So if you wish to throw some coin into what I call the Fedora Fund, please feel free to do so. However, I don't want anybody doing anything that puts them in a bad spot. So, but if you feel like it, Rumble is open. Throw some Rumble rants in, and like I say, you'll always receive a grateful thank you from your friendly Front Porch Conservative. Oh goodness, I forgot. Now, Meredith, I know you're up early, but look at this poor girl. 1 a.m. Eastern Millicent, I absolutely love you, darling. Your dedication is just insane. So, yeah. Oh, Robert, I envy you, my friend. By the way, if you are just now having brunch or breakfast, either way, drop it in chat. I'd like to know what everyone's enjoying right now. So do that for me if you wouldn't mind. I'd like to find out. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about some political stuff going on in the world. And the biggest story of well, two of them. There's two. One happened late Friday, and the other happened much earlier in the week. And the one that happened earlier in the week is the one that probably everybody is fully aware of, and that is the newest indictment against President Trump that came out of Georgia. Yeah, I have to drink before I talk about this one. So much to say about this, but let's go over the basics of what it is that Trump is being charged with. And not just Trump, by the way. 18 other co-defendants. I mean, this has got to be one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Now, I always say that, but I'm no lawyer. Okay. I'm just a guy that reads the news and I try to exercise my brains and my common sense. But my brains and my common sense are looking at this thing and I'm going, this is nuts. I mean, just absolutely crazy. So let's take a look at what's going on here. And we will begin, as is our wont, with NBC News. Trump and 18 co-defendants charged with racketeering in Georgia 2020 election. Now, you read that headline and you ask, well, what the heck is racketeering? Basically, it's RICO. Now, you might have heard the words RICO statute. Well, what does that mean? Well, we go next to legaldictionary.net. RICO, or the Racketeer Influenced and Corruption Organizations Act, is a law that allows authorities to punish offenders engaging in criminal activities, particularly racketeering. Okay. It astounds me, absolutely astounds me, that this is being used against Trump and everybody else. And I said in one of my videos, the irony in this, the irony of it is that Rudy Giuliani, who is one of the 18 co-defendants in this, Rudy Giuliani made his bones as a prosecutor by charging the mob families in New York City with RICO. Okay. Now, I need to mention one other thing. Let me go back to that legal dictionary. Particularly racketeering. Well, what is racketeering? The term racketeering refers to the operation of a business that causes a problem with the intent to offer to solve the problem. These problems involve illegal activities, and racketeering is just as illegal as the other party's illegal business. Racketeering may include services to solve problems related to someone else's involvement in such things as prostitution rings, gambling operations, money laundering, and managing the sale or distribution of drugs. So that's RICO and that's racketeering. Basically, what the DA in Georgia, whose name is Fannie Willis, and oh my goodness, hello, ladies and gentlemen, we are visited by a great political pundit, a great thinker, a great writer, Christian Watson. And I'm not just saying that because I've interviewed him on my channel. If you are not familiar with this young man, you need to get to know him. Okay, go find his YouTube channel, go find anywhere he's got writing, check him out. Christian, a tip of the hat to you, sir. Good morning. Welcome to Front Porch Brunch. We are glad to have you in the audience. Absolutely thrilled to death that you're here. Thank you for saying hello. It's just a pleasure. I'm getting all kinds of pleasant surprises this morning. I've got old friends of mine from college stopping by. I've got people I've interviewed stopping by. Yeah, this has just turned into a party. Absolutely. Good morning, sir. We're glad to have you. So, yeah, we're getting ready to get into the Trump indictment down in Georgia, for Christian, just to get you caught up. But this is absolutely crazy. I mean, they're charging these people with conspiracy to racketeering, conspiracy, all kinds of stuff. And I'll show you a post on Twitter from Robert Barnes, who's probably one of my favorite people to follow when it comes to all matters legal. Listen to this. The Georgia indictment is the most insane yet by the looniest prosecutor. Claims tweets are conspiracies, legal advice is a crime, constitutional law is a criminal act, and demanding officials do their job is criminal solicitation. It's an embarrassment to the state of Georgia, and he's not wrong. The DA in Fulton County, whose name is Fannie Willis, who we here on the Front Porch affectionately refer to as Fannie Pack, Fannie Pack has absolutely put together the most insane concoction of charges that I've ever heard of. To give you an example of what Robert Barnes is talking about, here's a tweet from Charlie Kirk. The Georgia indictment says that advocating for robust signature verification is a conspiratorial act. Now, what he's referring to is something from the indictments. I'm going to read this in its entirety. On or about the 6th day of December 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Real Donald Trump, quote, "Gee, what a surprise. Has anyone informed the so-called, says he has no power to do anything, Governor Brian Kemp and his puppet Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan that they could easily solve this mess and win? Signature verification and call a special session. So easy. This was an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy." What Charlie's referring to, what Robert Barnes is referring to, this kind of thing is riddled throughout the indictments. I mean, Fannie Pack is trying to charge Trump for tweeting about what happened in Georgia. And by the way, not just what happened in Georgia. There are, throughout the indictments, riddled references to comments that were made in Pennsylvania, the fact that Giuliani talked to legislators in Michigan, the fact that other lawyers were doing this, somebody's doing that. I mean, it's not just confined. I mean, if the charges were confined to Georgia, you might understand why she's doing this or why she's trying to charge him with RICO, among other things. But she's building an entire case to be done in a courtroom in Atlanta, Georgia, on acts that were done outside the borders of the state of Georgia. Does this make sense to anybody? And what she's saying is those acts are proof of a nationwide conspiracy. Therefore, I can charge Trump under RICO, the Georgia version of the RICO statutes. This is madness. This is absolute madness. It is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, just beyond all kinds of nuts. You know, but some news broke late on Friday related to these indictments that start to explain why old Fannie Pack may have done what she did. I'm going to take you to, again, to Charlie Kirk's Twitter page. He was doing an interview with former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich on Friday. And Gingrich let go a piece of information that has come his way that if it's true, and I don't even know how you'd run this down, but if it's true, this ought to explode the whole thing of what's going on in Atlanta and just blow it up. I want you to listen to this.
That I am told, this is hearsay, but I am told by a reliable source that Friday evening, somebody from Washington called the district attorney in Atlanta and said, "You have to indict on Monday. We have to cover up all of the mistakes we just made with Weiss." And she said, apparently, my jurors aren't coming back till Tuesday. And they said, "You didn't hear me. You have to indict on Monday." And she said, "Well, they're not going to get here before noon." They said, "It doesn't matter." She said, this means it's going to be 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night." They said, "It doesn't matter. We need the news media shifting."
Who made that phone call?
We don't know. And I'm telling you up front, this is hearsay, but it's from a person who has remarkably good
I
sources.
totally believe it, though, because that would explain why they leaked and they messed up on the clerk document, why she was exhausted, and why they had the 11 p.m. press conference, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Now, I will be totally fair about this. Gingrich is saying up front, look, it's hearsay. I can't prove it. All right. Everybody gets this going in. But if what he is being told by who he was talking to is indeed true, Charlie's right. Charlie Kirk is absolutely right. It does explain a lot. Why would you bring these grand jurors back in on a Monday when they were never scheduled to be there? Why does the county clerk post the charges in the indictment hours before the grand jury takes a vote on the charges? Why does the DA, Fannie Willis, why does Fannie Pack do an 11 p.m. press conference explaining what the charges are? I mean, everybody knew this was coming down at some point in Atlanta, okay? But nobody was expecting it to happen on Monday night. I mean, by all reports that were coming out of the courthouse in Atlanta, I mean, Fannie had like, I don't know, upwards of like 10, 15, maybe 20 different witnesses. And I mean, she flew through them. I mean, we're talking racehorse speed that these interviews were done in front of the grand jury with these witnesses. And then the charges are voted on and they bring them out. And it all happens on a Monday night. And what had happened 3 days earlier? That the Attorney General appointed David Weiss as special counsel over the Hunter Biden issue. And there were so many problems with that. That's all everybody was talking about going into the weekend. So if what Gingrich is hearing is true, and again, it's hearsay. I'm not trying to curry or purvey in rumor. I'm just telling you up front. This is what he's even telling you up front. This is what he's being told. But if it's true, it explains a whole lot of why everything went down the way it did and why this thing is going to blow up. It's just built on an absolute house of cards. And good morning, Meredith. May I introduce you to the inestimable Reuben Christopher Haynes. Meredith, you picked a good morning to stop by for Front Porch Brunch. A bunch of my favorite people are stopping in to say hello. The complete irony is that they're doing what they're accusing Trump of doing. A coordinated yes, Senator, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Confession through projection. I don't know if Viva Fry is the one that came up with that term, but by George, it explains a whole lot. But Reuben, you are absolutely spot on with this. Absolutely spot on. And now, if for those of you who are watching this, and you may not know what I'm talking about with the posting of the charges, this is from Mike Cernovich's Twitter page. They posted at sometime around noon or 1 o'clock on Monday of last week what the charges were against Trump. They're like about 40 different counts. Problem with that is the grand jury never voted on it. They hadn't voted on a single thing yet, and the charges are already posted. Now, the clerk is saying, well, it was just a mistake on our part. We were just trying to, just came up with every sorry, lazy excuse in the world. And Charlie Kirk, again, brings up a really good point when he says, that wasn't fictitious. That had an assigned case number and a judge assigned to it before the grand jury was even voted. So, mistake my foot. They had this thing set up the whole way. But, I said this has got the potential to blow up. And I truly do believe that. Because much like the special counsel in D.C., Jack Smith, who we here refer to as Jackboot, much like his counterpart down in Atlanta, old Jackboot Smith has opened the door for a problem, and Fanny Pack has opened the door for a problem. And I'll show you a tweet from Robert Barnes to explain what the problem is. As the entire Georgia indictment depends on proving Trump's statements, there were more questionable votes counted than the margin of victory. The Georgia case opens the door to the discovery and court trial on the election. The Georgia courts wrongly denied Trump in 2020. Now, if you're wondering what he's talking about, it's this. Hang on. Got to lubricate the old vocal cords. In 2020, Robert Barnes led a team of lawyers to start showing that there were discrepancies with the votes being counted, problems with it. For example, what kind of problems? Well, take a look at this. Now, all these were found. 2,056 felons illegally voted. 66,248 ballots of people under the age of 18 who voted. 2,400 people who weren't registered at all apparently voted. 1,043 used a P.O. box. 4,926 voted past the regulated date. 10,000 people died before the election. 15,000 moved out of state, 40,000 changed counties. Now, all those stats come from a speech that one of the members of the Trump team gave to the Georgia legislature, to committees who were studying this. Now, before you folks at YouTube start freaking out about this, these are alleged violations. Before the YouTube overlords are like, oh my God! Yeah, just alleged. But if there's evidence to prove this, then Trump's got a case to make. And what Fanny Pack has done is just like Jack Smith. She's opened the door for this. If this gets into a courtroom, Trump is going to, and his legal team are going to have every opportunity to bring this stuff out. And don't you think they won't? And by the way, don't you think they should? This country is long overdue to have an honest discussion about what happened and let evidence be presented. Now, people on the left are going to argue, oh, we've had that discussion. This is, we're plowing over old ground here. This doesn't need... No, we didn't. We haven't talked about this. We haven't talked about the evidence. Because you people on the left, Google, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you won't let this be discussed. Now, you're not going to have a choice. Because remember, in order for Jack Smith and Fannie Willis to make these charges stick, they have to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the election was not in any way compromised by fraud, illegality, or the effects of loosening up voter integrity laws. And that last one may be the most critical part. Okay? Remember the whole reason for all the mail-in ballots? Oh, COVID, we can't have people risking getting sick because of COVID by going to vote. So we loosened up the voter integrity laws and made mail-in voting possible in places where it was never envisioned. And then that opened the door for a lot of chicanery and a lot of shenanigans. And now, in a courtroom before the law, Trump and his legal team can have the chance to prove why all of these things happened, were wrong, and how they adversely affected the election, and why it is, had they never happened, Trump would win. Up to now, this discussion has not been possible. Now, there may be no way to avoid it, because like I said, For Smith and Willis to win, they have to be able to prove the election was no problems, straight up, no chicanery, no shenanigans, nothing of the sort. Because that's the only way they can make the case that Trump was either lying or leading a conspiracy or whatever. They have to prove that he knew the election claims about fraud and illegality were false. Yeah, there's a worry. There's a legitimate worry. Hopefully it doesn't. But yeah, it could. But if this gets into a courtroom and that evidence doesn't disappear, this could be a whole lot of fun to watch. So, oh, and by the way, there's one more point to bring up about that I hadn't quite gotten to yet. I kept wondering how the governor, Brian Kemp, was going to respond, or people like Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State of Georgia. Well, this is from Kemp's own Twitter page. The 2020 election in Georgia was not stolen. For 3 years now, anyone with evidence of fraud has failed to come forward under oath and prove it in a court of law. That's not true. They never got the chance to prove it in a court of law under oath. Thank you very much. Our elections in Georgia are secure, accessible, and fair, and will continue to be as long as I am governor. There's another reason why Fannie's might have a problem with this case. If this gets into a courtroom and all this stuff gets presented, the governor and the Secretary of State, who are both Republicans, by the way, are going to have a lot to have to explain. Because remember, the vote margin was like, what, 11,000, just a touch under 12,000 votes. Go back to that tweet with all the alleged violations. Look at that. If any combination of those numbers turns out to be true, then that's more than Biden's margin of victory in Georgia. Which means Kemp and Raffensperger as the governor and secretary of state, respectively, people are going to start looking at them and going, you guys want to explain this? And they do not want that kind of heat put on them. They would love to see this thing go away. But they've got to figure out how to do it and not look like they're making it go away. That's going to be fun to watch. So that's what goes on in Georgia this week. So it is just about 11:30 a.m. East Coast time. My name is Brian Tripp, and I am your Front Porch Conservative. We are going over some news items of the week. And I tell you what, this day is turning into quite the party. Like I said, I've got my old friend Meredith stopped by. I got Christian Watson stopping by. I got Reuben Christopher Haynes. I got Robert Lowry. I got Millicent from down in Australia. I got Leanne. She's out there driving around. Stay safe, my love. And I know there's a bunch of lurkers out there. Bless your hearts. There's probably people on Rumble who are watching this. So, if you haven't dropped a comment in chat yet, please feel free to do so. We'd love to hear from you. I mean, I have no problem with, if you don't want to say anything, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But, we'd love to hear from you. No matter what format you're watching this show in right now, we'd love to interact with you. I'm sure that, we're all, not sure. I know we are. We're all a friendly bunch. We're ornery as all get out sometimes, but, we're friendly. So if you're out there and you're watching and you want to drop a comment, be it in YouTube or on Rumble or whatever, feel free to do so. This is a really cool morning. Christian Watson stopped by. He's saying hello. And yeah, it's, I've said that for me, doing this live stream is just a load of fun. It really is. And you just never know what's going to happen on a Saturday morning. So this, for me, is really cool. And I'm glad you guys are here. Robert. We don't bite. But, as Robert says, we only nibble. I love you, man. You are absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. See, Meredith, lest you think that smart assery is confined to just you and me. Oh, no. I know a heck of a lot of smart asses. So let's shift gears ever so slightly. Oh, by the way, my grifting comments. We are not monetized on YouTube, but we are on Rumble. So if you feel the need or the desire to drop some money in the Fedora Fund, Rumble rants are available and will always be appreciated. However, my standard disclaimer, please do not do anything that puts you in a bad financial way. Okay, I don't want to do that to anybody. I mean, I'm glad for support anytime I can receive it. And if you feel so inclined to do it, I will always be grateful. But please do not do anything that's going to cause yourself a problem. So, but Rumble rants are available. So if you feel like dropping some coin for your friendly neighborhood front porch conservative, I will not be in the slightest offended. So please do so. Okay. Having got my grifter's advertisement out of the way, let's shift gears. Now, I said there were two political stories that happened this week, and this next one has got some really interesting potential to it. Thursday afternoon, it was reported that the chairman of the House Oversight Committee had sent a request out by letter. So we're going to start with the New York Post. House GOP demands unredacted records of Biden using pseudonym while vice president. Now, what's this silliness? Article by Steve Nelson. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer asked the National Archives on Wednesday to hand over any unredacted records in which President Biden used a pseudonym during his vice presidency, as Republicans move closer to launching an impeachment inquiry into his role in his son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. Emails previously released by the archives and retrieved from Hunter's abandoned laptop reveal that Joe Biden used the email address robert.l.peters@pci.gov while he was Barack Obama's second-in-command, and that his aide, John Flynn, CC'd Hunter on 10 emails containing the elder Biden's daily schedule between May 18th and June 15th of 2016, which, by the way, just in case people might not pick up on this fact, Biden was most certainly still in the office of the vice president. Comer's request covers records using Biden's other known pseudonyms, Robin Ware and J.R.B. Ware, and makes pointed requests for certain documents, such as drafts of Biden's 2015 speech to Ukraine's parliament. Quote, Joe Biden stated there was an absolute wall between his family's foreign business schemes and his duties as vice president, but evidence reveals that access was wide open for his family's influence peddling, Comer said in a statement. We already have evidence of then Vice President speaking, dining, and having coffee with foreign business associates of his son. Now, okay, so what's the big deal? Up to now, or I should say maybe up until about 2 weeks ago, Joe Biden at least had a plausible defense for himself. It was absurd if you actually knew the facts and know the facts, but at least plausible that he never discussed his son's business dealings. They never talked about it. Hunter and Joe never had dinners together, were talking on the phone. Hunter's in Washington, Joe's somewhere else, yada, yada, yada. No idea of what Hunter was doing. As I've often said, everything in the universe is possible, but not all things are highly probable. And based on all the evidence that's coming out, Joe's travel schedule, the fact that Hunter was traveling with him, the fact that Devin Archer's now testified in front of the House Oversight Committee saying, why, yeah, Joe knew about it. Joe was on phone calls with Hunter. As a matter of fact, when Hunter would have business dealings, he'd have lunches and dinners with people, he'd call his dad and put his dad on speakerphone. That Joe Biden was having, dinner at places like Cafe Milano in Washington, D.C. with Hunter's business buddies. Okay? But there's one aspect of it that up till now, no one could quite put together. And that is how did Hunter know where Joe would be or what he was doing? And I think Comer may have, I'm not going to say he stumbled into this or stumbled over it, but he has definitely figured out how it is that Hunter was made aware of where Joe would be and what Joe would be doing, such that if Hunter needed to make a phone call, he knows where Dad's at. And that is, Joe's schedule of events was being emailed to Hunter. But Joe would have to have some kind of plausible deniability, because you can't have emails coming from, the vice president's governmental email account, because if it did get caught, that would look horrible. Understandably so, because the direct tie-in would be right there. So apparently, what President Soft Serve, which is our nickname for Joe, by the way, what old Soft Serve and his son Hunter figured out was a neat little scheme to give Joe plausible deniability, but also keep Hunter aware of what was going on. And that is, they'd use a bunch of fake email accounts under the names of Robin Ware or RJB Ware, or all these different weirdo, Robin Ware, JRB Ware, or Robert L. Peters at PCI.gov. All these fake email accounts. I shouldn't say fake. Pseudonym email accounts. Well, it's now been discovered because Hunter's laptop, which is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, look, there are some things on Hunter Biden's laptop I will never want to see. Because let's be honest, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Hunter Biden's an animal. Okay? Everybody's going to try and say, oh, it was the drugs. No, he's an animal. He is a filthy animal. And the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. His dad's, in one form or another, just about as bad as he is. There's things on there I do never want to see. But I got to admit it. As an old political junkie, that laptop just keeps on telling us more and more and more. So, a follow-up story came out of the New York Post. And this was, and it was now confirmed, because that's what Comer was trying to find. Well, now it's now confirmed. Joe Biden did indeed use email pseudonyms while VP to loop Hunter in on Ukraine and government business. This story is written by Josh Christensen and came out the next day, yesterday. President Biden used at least 3 different pseudonyms during his vice presidency to send messages to his son Hunter concerning both family and official government business, including meetings with Ukraine leaders. Emails found on the son's abandoned laptop now show. And it goes on to list the email addresses. The elder Biden had one of his aides, John Flynn, send his daily schedule to the private email account, robert.l.peters at pci.gov at least 10 times between May 18th and June 15th of 2016, copying Hunter on a May 26th message with a note about 8:45 a.m. prep for 9:45 phone call with President Poroshenko. So, I mean, this is just amazing. I mean, it just boggles the mind. Truly it does. Truly it does. So now we've got the setup, which is Hunter is the front man and the bag man. Joe is the goods being sold. We've got how Hunter was doing it through Burisma, through other business, through dealings in China, through dealings in Romania, etc. We got what Joe could deliver. Burisma officials need to get the prosecutor Shokin fired. A phone call gets made to Washington. Next thing you know, Joe Biden is pressuring the president, Poroshenko, to get rid of Shokin, the prosecutor, and as Joe said, son of a bitch, he got fired. So we have the setup We've got what it is they were offering in terms of access and influence. We have an actual act of it happening. We've got an FBI informant saying $10 million was given to Hunter and Joe, $5 million apiece. And the FBI informant is saying that information came from the president, the CEO of Burisma. We now have a message method of delivery, an email system whereby Joe would send his schedule to Hunter and not have to use any kind of official government account. The only thing we need is the money. And there was an article, and I've got to find it again. I'll pull it up sometime. Greg Jarrett, and I'll see if I can get my hands on it, but he makes a fascinating point. I've said that, they've got to be able to prove the money. Greg Jarrett of Fox News is saying you don't have to show that he got the money. Now, that takes a little bit of explaining, and I don't have time to do it here. But, yeah, we've got everything but the money. And I've said it before, and I will say it again. If the House Republican Oversight Committee can prove and demonstrate how the money went from Ukraine or Romania or China and it wound up in the account of Joe Biden, and demonstrate the method by which that was done and the route that money took, start writing the articles of impeachment. Oh, but you can't do that. That's when he was that's the actions of a previous office holder, which some people are saying, you can't impeach on those grounds. I disagree. He's compromised. How do you know that the actions that Joe Biden is not engaging in today with regard to Ukraine or China or anything else are not influenced by past actions back when he was vice president? Seems like a fairly straightforward question. And to me, it's kind of commonsensical. We don't know that what he's doing now isn't influenced by past actions. But worse yet, if these people think they've got some kind of hold over Joe, he's compromised. He needs to be removed from office. I mean, the evidence is starting to mount. Now, do I think it's going to happen? Tragically, no. It should. And I'm not just saying that because I don't like Joe Biden's politics. I really don't like Joe Biden's politics. I don't like his smarmy attitude. I don't like his elitism. I don't like any number of things about Joe Biden. But for all those reasons, he should not be removed. But if it's proven he did this stuff, yeah, absolutely, you need to remove him. You've got to take him out. Politically speaking, he's got to be removed from office. Oh, and by the way, there's been an update to how much money we're talking about that may have flowed into the hands of the Biden family. This is an article from the Daily Caller. North of $50 million. GOP Representative Nancy Mace says Biden payouts even higher than previously reported. Article written by Harold Hutchison. Republican Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina said Monday that the money paid to the Biden family from foreign companies was much higher than reported, based on suspicious activity reports. Quote, "We're not allowed to share the SARs with the public, but I've seen suspicious activity reports that make me believe the amount of money that the Biden family was paid is north of $50 million. Mace told Cavuto Coast to Coast guest host Cheryl Casson. It's not just Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, James Biden, his brother. There are grandchildren that receive money from communist China, for example. $50 million. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So yeah, more information's coming out. More information is being shown. And I hope that the Bidens get everything that they so richly deserve. We'll just put it like that. Will it happen? No idea. Should it happen? Absolutely. because those rich men north of Richmond. Well, I'll tell you what, it is 11:45 East Coast. Let's shift gears and get into HodgePodge Stew. Now, for those of you, Meredith in particular, who are watching right now and you're wondering what is HodgePodge Stew, HodgePodge Stew are those group of stories or story that maybe not were above the fold on your local newspaper, but they're interesting nonetheless, and they kind of give us a chance to talk or laugh about things going on in the country. Some of them are serious, some not so much. And I've got 3 or 4 of them here that I think are worth getting into. So here's a preview of something going on next week, by the way. The first Republican presidential debate is coming up Tuesday. I know we are all aquiver with anticipation. Oh my gosh, I might have to get smelling salts because I just might faint at the sight of watching Chris Christie on stage. You know, we are all a Twitter with excitement. But there's been a great raging question, and that is, would Donald Trump even bother to show up to this thing? And if you were watching my interview the other night with Rich Baris, this is something that we got into because I want to get his opinion on it. And personally, I am of the school of thought, and I think Rich is too, that if you're this far ahead, like Donald Trump is over the Republican field, don't go to this food fight. All you're going to do is get dirty, or somebody's going to bloody you up. Okay? Some people say, well, he needs to be there. He needs to show people that, you know, he is willing to talk to anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere. Yeah. But when you're the biggest dog in the dog pound, every little dog is going to come after you. Why bother? Well, oh gosh. In only the style that Donald Trump can do it, he put out the following on Truth Social. Many people are asking whether or not I will be doing the debates. All Americans have been clamoring for a president of extremely high intelligence. As everyone is aware, my poll numbers over a wonderful field of Republican candidates are extraordinary. In fact, I'm leading the runner-up, whoever that may now be, by more than 50 points. Reagan didn't do it, neither did others. People know my record, one of the best ever, so why would I debate? I'm your man, make America great again. Now, I gotta laugh at this. I mean, there's a lot of things you can say about Donald Trump, and I've said that before and say it again. But you got to give him this. The man knows how to word something. Okay? I love that line about, in fact, I'm leading the runner-up, whoever that may be now. Oh, he knows exactly who the runner-up is. It's DeSantis. But he's giving him a diss by saying, well, whoever it happens to be now, maybe I don't know who it is. You know, this is funny. Well, that was Truth Social. Friday afternoon, an article came out of the New York Times. And I think this is great. And I'll tell you why here in a minute. Trump plans to skip, it's official now, Trump plans to skip the GOP debate for an interview with Tucker Carlson. The former president's apparent decision to skip the first debate is a major affront to both the Republican National Committee and to Fox News, which is hosting the event. Oh, the inhumanity. Oh, the tragedy. Article written by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan. Former President Donald J. Trump plans to upstage the first Republican primary debate on Wednesday by sitting for an online interview. Now, that's just a little bit of a slide. Online interview with former Fox host Tucker Carlson, according to multiple people briefed on the matter. In the past 24 hours, Mr. Trump has told people close to him that he has made up his mind and will skip the debate in Milwaukee, according to 2 people briefed on the matter. Mr. Trump is notoriously mercurial, and left himself something of an out to change his mind with an ambiguous post on his website Truth Social on Thursday. He wrote that he's polling well ahead of his rivals and added, "Reagan didn't do it, neither did others. People know my record, one of the best ever. Why should I debate?" For weeks, the former president has been quizzing aides, associates, and rally crowds about what he should do. Until earlier this week, Mr. Trump had been giving people the impression he was considering a last-minute surprise appearance on Wednesday. Still, people close to him said for months that he was unlikely to take part in the first two Republican debates, both of which are sponsored by the RNC. And Mr. Trump's apparent decision to skip the first debate of the presidential nominating contest is a major affront to both the RNC and Fox News, which is hosting the event. Okay, let's get into this. This is not an affront to the RNC. You want to know what this is? Let me show you. That is for the benefit of Rupert Murdoch from Donald Trump. Hey, Dr. OK, good morning, sir. I see a comment over on Rumble. How you doing? Glad to see you, sir. Welcome to join us. Glad you're the first commenter on Rumble this morning. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad you did. Hope more of you and your friends over there on Rumble do drop some comments in. But hey, we're glad to have you. We're just talking about this decision by Trump to skip the first debate. It's not an affront to the RNC, folks. This is an affront to Rupert Murdoch. And I'm glad Trump did it. Let's be honest about it. Let's just boil it all down, okay? The fact that Fox, Dr. OK just asked another question or another comment. Isn't Trump doing an interview with Tucker at the same time of the debate? Hang on to that. We're going to get to that. We're going to get right to that. The fact of the matter is, Donald Trump is flipping Rupert Murdoch the middle finger and saying, screw you. And frankly, I think he should. Okay? Let's be honest. These two guys don't like each other. They never really have. But when Rupert Murdoch pulled that stunt on election night 2020 and let that call on Arizona go out before everything was finally said and done, and it started the momentum for everything that happened next. No, if I were Trump, I wouldn't give Fox News time of day. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people there I like. I think they're fair-minded people. But by and large, that network, because of the Murdochs, I'm glad Trump did it. And frankly, stop and think about it. The only reason that Ronna McDaniel wants Donald Trump on that stage, the only reason Rupert Murdoch wants him on that stage, although he'll never admit it, the only reason those two leeches want Donald Trump on that stage in Milwaukee for the debate, the only reason they want him there is ratings. Because otherwise, nobody would watch. Nobody would watch DeSantis. Nobody would ever watch Pence. They might watch Chris Christie because you never know what he's going to say. But they're not watching for anybody else. They'd be watching for Donald Trump. And if Trump did show up, that thing would get huge ratings. I mean, everybody can say that it's bravo and bluster on the part of Donald Trump when he says, yeah, when I show up, it gets huge. The ratings are huge. Okay, yeah, it might be bluster and it might be a lot of things, but he ain't wrong. Because for everything else Donald Trump is, he's an extremely entertaining individual. I mean, I agree with people like Roger Stone and others. Donald Trump has some of the most amazing political instincts I've ever seen. He's great on the stump. He's great one-on-one with people. He is a great retail politician for a guy who's never been in politics. And Trump is very entertaining. He's a load of fun to watch because you never know quite what's going to happen. Vivek would be somebody worth watching. Matter of fact, I got to go back and watch his interview with Tucker Carlson, to be honest. That looked fairly interesting. But this whole thing is a giant middle finger to Rupert Murdoch and Fox News. This is not an affront to the RNC, although you can make an argument for it. No, this is Trump getting even with Rupert. And I'm glad he's doing it. Now, To answer Dr. OK's question, isn't Trump doing an interview with Tucker at the same time? I think that's the case. I think that is the case. As I understand it, that the interview between Trump and Tucker Carlson is going to take place at the exact same time as the Republican debate in Milwaukee. You talk about sucking all the air right out of the room. That is exactly what Trump's doing. And he knows it. He and his people know it. And I think it's brilliant. Politically, it's absolutely brilliant. Dr. OK on Rumble says, if it is at the same time, I wonder who the big-time podcasters are going to live stream. Well, I'm thinking about it. I mean, not that I'm a big-time live streamer or big-time podcaster, but I'm thinking about it. Matter of fact, I got to reach out to somebody and see if they'd be available, if they even want to do it. But I'm thinking about it. Got to talk to somebody, but I think it'd be great to watch. I really do. Now, is Tucker going to do it live? I have no idea. Which kind of I found irritating about that New York Times article. An online interview. No, he's going to do it on Twitter. Everybody knows where Tucker Carlson's going to be. It's going to be on Twitter. New York Times just doesn't want to say it. They want to make it seem like, oh, he'll be doing something online. But we are the New York Times, therefore, elitism. But yeah, Trump's going to do an interview with Tucker Carlson. Well, I'm still calling it Twitter. Dr. OK, I'm still calling it Twitter. I'm just not ready to switch over yet. That's all right. I mean, and I'm not being a smart aleck when I say this. If you prefer to call it X, it's up to you. But for my part, I still call it Twitter. But yeah, Trump is about to flip Rupert Murdoch the bird and say, you get what you deserve. Now, all right, now, folks, let's play nice here. And Tucker will get more viewers. Millicent, he's just making an observation, just saying. Yeah, and Trump knows this. Which goes to something else, Robert. Now, I don't know how you feel about this, but where I'm coming from. Donald Trump is a master at knowing how to attract a crowd. So if you're Donald Trump, why would you go on a debate stage where you have to share the spotlight with 5 or 6 other people when you could go in a room with one other person and between the two of you generate more viewers than what you'd get if you went somewhere else? I mean, I can't prove it, but it wouldn't surprise me if that entered into his calculation. Really wouldn't surprise me at all. So I think this is great. I think it's fantastic. I can't believe he's blowing off Fox News. For you folks at Fox News, what did you expect? You're lucky he's even having anything to do with you, given the way Rupert screwed him over 3 years ago. And yes, I say Rupert screwed him over, and I say that for a reason. We can get into that story sometime. But there's no doubt in my mind it was Rupert that was behind that call on election night on Arizona. So, that's our first story from in our pot of HodgePodge Stew. Like to get something else, and this is kind of funny. Poor old Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. Now, I shouldn't say it that way. It sounds like I'm being mean to the poor guy, which, okay, maybe I am, but, it is what it is. As those of you who've been following the Front Porch know, I've been doing some stories and videos and stuff like that about the problems that New York City is having with illegal immigration. In other words, in one form or another, illegal immigrants who are coming across the southern border are making their way to New York City. Now, whether it's the federal government bringing them up there or the governor of Texas busing them up there or whatever, but they're coming to New York City to the tune of about, I think, 5,000 a week is the number that I heard. And regardless of what you might think, and this part's truly serious, it's putting a really financial strain on the Big Apple because, they didn't plan for this. They didn't plan on this happening to them. Now, whatever disagreements I might have with Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, I mean, I'll give him that, this is a problem that he doesn't want to deal with. He shouldn't have to. If the president of the same party he belongs to actually gave a damn about the southern border, they'd put a stop to this. Which, by the way, the former president did put a stop to it, by and large. Yeah, there were still illegal border crossings, but it wasn't as bad as what it is right now. Yeah, and Dr. OK on Rumble's calling it the rotten apple. Well, you ain't wrong, buddy. New York is bad for a lot of reasons right now. And it makes me sad because for two reasons. One, I'd love to go up there and just run around for about 2 or 3 weeks if I had the money and the time. And number two, I have, I'll call them friends. I have friends and people I'm associated with who live in New York City. And it breaks my heart for them. It really does. I mean, yeah, they're still living good lives and they're trying to live the best life they can. They're living as comfortably and safely as possible, but they don't want to go through all that. But a couple of stories came up this week related to the ongoing problems with illegal immigration in New York City. Yeah, well, yeah, and you know what? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. They want to be a sanctuary city. Here's everything that goes along with it. So, you're right. I should temper my sympathies. And I probably do, the reality be told. But a couple of stories came out this week that I thought give you an idea of the squeeze that's being put on Eric Adams. Here's a story from the New York Post. Queens residents accuse Mayor Adams of destroying NYC with handling of migrant crisis. Article written by Carl Campanile and Isabel Keene. Fuming New Yorkers accosted Mayor Eric Adams over the weekend, claiming he's going to destroy the city with his handling of the migrant crisis, as the mayor made a subtle dig at President Biden. Queens residents protesting a, quote, tent city at Creedmoor Psychiatric Center held signs and chanted, "No tent city, one-term mayor" on Sunday during a post-Indian parade event at St. Gregory the Great Church in Belrose. Quote, "We have a right to decide who you want to vote on as a mayor. That's how you show your power," Adams said to a group. According to audio obtained by the Post, Adams continued, "If you feel I'm not doing the job the last 18 months with the mess I inherited, you have the right to do what you want." Phil Orenstein, a leader of the Queens Village Republican Club, urged Adams to tell your president to stop sending migrants to New York. "My president? There's one president." And here's a picture of the mayor being, quote, accosted. I find it all kind of funny, to be perfectly honest. Sorry about that, folks. But yeah, so there's that on one side. Then on the other side, so the residents of New York City are getting in his grill. But worse yet, he's about to be thrown under the bus proverbially by the governor. Check this out. Governor Hochul slams Mayor Adams' migrant response as slow in scathing letter. So what's this all about? Article by Bernadette Hogan, Carl Campanile, and Emily Crane. So much for a united front. Governor Kathy Hochul ripped Mayor Eric Adams' handling of the Big Apple's out-of-control migrant crisis, accusing his administration late Tuesday of being slow to act and ignoring repeated offers of state-paid assistance. The harsh and previously unseen public criticism of the city's migrant response was laid bare in a scathing 12-page letter from Hochul's lawyer Tuesday night in the wake of the mayor's persistent cries for extra state and federal help battling the escalating crisis. The city has not made timely requests for regulatory changes, has not always promptly shared necessary information with the state, has not implemented programs in a timely manner, and has not consulted the state before taking certain actions, according to the terse letter first reported on by the New York Times. The city can and should do more to act in a proactive and collaborative manner with the state. Woo! I tell you what, if you went out and checked out Eric Adams' back right now, you might read the letters G-O-D-Y. Yeah, it's short for Goodyear. That's how much tire tread is in this man's back right now. That's what you call throwing somebody under the bus the hard way around. And my used to live around here when Giuliani was in charge. Excellent then. Yeah. When Giuliani ran that city, now granted, a whole different era, but Giuliani didn't handle things like this. Crime was the biggest issue in New York City. He got that under control. People may not have agreed with his methods, but he definitely did that. Dr. OK on Rumble says, say what you want about him, but Rudy Giuliani had New York cleaned up. Hochul is exactly what she is. She's a politician. Yeah, and just like a politician, she's throwing somebody under the bus, and it doesn't matter to her if it's a fellow Democrat. Now, I'm not necessarily here to comment on the mudslinging that's going on between Hochul and Adams. In one sense, I find it rather amusing to watch these two snakes try to eat each other. But, yeah, this is, I need help. I need state help. I need federal help. Well, you'd get the help if you tell us what you need and do it in a timely manner. But both of these people are just being absolutely ridiculous because, to me, they're arguing about the symptom and they're not going after the cure. And what am I talking about? They're trying to figure out a way how to deal with the migrant crisis that's in their city. Well, why don't they turn their attentions to the South and between the two of them issue a joint statement and a joint press conference calling on Biden to secure the border? Because that's where their problem is coming from. The reason that they're having to deal with this as New York City and New York State is because the leader of your party, Governor Hochul, your party, Mayor Adams, the leader of your party, who is the president of the United States, is letting things at the border run amok. And you're getting illegal immigrants coming to your city, and you're now having to deal with the consequences of his inaction or actions at the border. Yeah, Giuliani did a great job of cleaning up New York City. Dr. OK says, it's like putting duct tape on a busted water main. Exactly. You're trying to put, best analogy I've heard this morning, duct tape on a water main. It's not going to stop it. You've got to cut off the flow of the water. In this case, you cut off the flow of the migrants. You secure the southern border. Then you don't have to worry about strained financial resources in New York City, and you don't have to worry about reallocating state resources in New York State to New York City. Secure the, to borrow from an old country analogy, if you simply close the barn door, you wouldn't have to worry about how the horses keep getting out. Or in, as the case may be. But no, instead they're going to look at each other and go, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. Oh my God, people. The fault lies with Biden and that useless, servile dog, Alexander Mayorkas. But no, you're not going to turn your attentions on them because they're part of your club. We've got to protect our boys, don't you know? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, I thought for the last story in HodgePodge Stew, and you know what, Meredith, it's funny that you show up this morning because you're going to probably, of everybody here, everybody will, I think, like this, but of all the people here, I think you're going to get the biggest kick out of this next part. Dr. OK on Rumble says, and the media is throwing Abbott in the fire for his use of border protection. Exactly. Just plain crazy. Just crazy. So, yeah, Meredith, I think you're going to appreciate this last story. Apparently, Gen Z is not happy with the language that we use. And they have figured out a new and interesting way to help us speak to each other in a way that is easily understandable. This is a story I found in the New York Post. You're going to get a kick out of this, everybody. Gen Z cancels LOL in favor of a new acronym, IGBOL. Now, what is this all about? Story by Brooke Cato. This is no laughing matter. Gen Z has canceled the fan favorite LOL. Instead, the slang-savvy generation has coined a more complicated term in lieu of laugh out loud. IJBOL. For the unaffiliated, or old farts like me, that means I just burst out laughing. Unlike the so-called strictly, quote, millennial, LMAO, laughing my ass off, ROFL, rolling on the floor laughing, or LOL, IGBOL, pronounced Eejbol, doesn't quite have the same je ne sais quoi. Yet the widely used acronyms, part of the internet culture for decades, have been trashed by Gen Zers, much like thumbs up emoji, skinny jeans, and blonde hair. I don't LMAO, it's just not what I do, 27-year-old Michael Messinio, a Melbourne-based content creator, told the New York Times. I associate LMAO with millennial humor, but then I associate IJBOL with Gen Z humor, which is funnier. Oh my God. We've got our first intergenerational controversy between Gen Zers and millennials. Oh my goodness. You know, baby boomers used to look at their parents and be like, you're squares. And then you had Gen Xers looking at, baby boomers going, God, really? You smoked that kind of stuff back in the day? What's the matter with you people? Now you've got millennials and Gen Zers going at it. This is IJBOL. I'm sorry. It might make me an old fuddy-duddy, but I'm going to use LOL. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No one's going to use that acronym except for millennials. No, excuse me, Gen Zers apparently. They're going to use it. To me, LOL is so much easier, so much economical. So, just crazy. Yeah, I saw that and I thought, now that's funny. And the fact that my old friend Meredith, who has a true keen appreciation of the English language, is here to hear about that one, that just the irony, the timing and the irony of that is just amazing. So, yeah, apparently we're all supposed to be now using IJBOL. I just bust out laughing. I'm sorry. Call me an old fart if you wish. I'm going to stick with LOL. That's just kind of funny. Okay. All right, folks. We're done a little bit early, but that's okay. I know everybody's got lives, and, that's cool. I want to thank everybody for stopping by the electronic front porch for this session of Front Porch Brunch. We'll be back, God willing, we will be back. Let me try it again. We will be back next Saturday morning with another session of Front Porch Brunch. In the meanwhile, there'll be new videos going up. One of them I will go ahead and tease you with right now. I'll tease you with a question. Yeah, Zem? JB, yeah, exactly. I'll tease you with this. What do President Biden's visit to Hawaii, aid to Ukraine, and the song Rich Men North of Richmond all have in common? Come back Monday morning at 9:30 when I post a video, and you'll find out. So we're going to have new videos coming up this week, and we will have, I've got a guest lined up for next Thursday. His name is Daniel R. Street. He's a native of Louisiana. He's an attorney, and he's also an author. Fake News Exposed About Trump, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. He's going to be a load of fun. And one of the subjects that we're going to get into is a discussion about the biggest legal case that's making its way up to the Supreme Court. It's called Missouri v. Biden. I am dying to get into that discussion. No, wait a minute. Hold on. What's this? I thought we were friends. Please stop trying to cause cardiac arrest. Don't get me started. My love, we are friends, and I would never do anything to deliberately give you a heart attack. Gen Z has got all kinds of problems, but I saw that article. I thought, oh, that's funny. The fact you're here to discuss to hear this, that's just the irony in it is just too rich. Oh my! I tell you what, I'm having fun this Saturday morning. I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, everybody who's stopping by, everybody who's dropping comments and chat. Gosh, this is just a hoot. But yeah, Thursday, Daniel Street and I are going to be talking about Missouri v. Biden, the biggest case making its way through the circuit courts right now regarding free speech. And if you don't know what that case is about, it has to do with when and how and under what circumstances the federal government can be in contact with social media companies like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google, etc. And, you know, for all of the problems that people have been pointing out about government cooperation and or coercion of social media, that case is extremely important. I really think if you're interested in that subject, come back Thursday, because Daniel and I are going to get into a fantastic discussion about that. We're going to be talking about, you know, fake news. We're going to be talking about the indictments, a whole bunch of other things. I'm really looking forward to the conversation with him. I've seen him in other places and other venues. He reached out. I reached out to him. We chit-chatted for a little while. We've got it set up for this Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern. Again, we'll be on YouTube, we'll be on Rumble, we'll be on Twitter. Please stop by. We'd love to have you. And, you know, looking forward to it. So, as always, we'll start to wrap this up. Meredith, Robert, Millicent, Christian Watson, Ruben Christopher Haynes, Dr. OK, and everybody else who's been watching and who will watch. I am so glad you're here. I'm glad you're part of this audience. You guys are some amazingly cool people. Thank you for being a part of what we're trying to build here on the front porch. You know, I say this every time in one form or another, and I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. For a little social media channel that's been around now for just a little over 5 months, the growth that we're experiencing and the people that we're drawing to us is just heartwarming. It's amazing, and you guys truly leave me humbled, and I mean that in all sincerity. So it's Saturday afternoon. You guys go have some fun, and I'll leave you as always with the words of that legendary American philosopher Tom T. Hall. Just remember, folks, it's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. We'll see you later.